What is up, POW fam? Welcome to day 70 of Countdown to FIDE 100. 31 days to go and FIDE, the International Chess Federation, turns 100 years old. And right, we are back onto the rivalry again between Anatoly Karpov and Garry Kasparov. Wow, this must have been like a domination for the 90s. Alright, let's take a look. The game begins. The game begins with d4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, bishop g7, e4, d6, f3 castles. Yeah, I sometimes see like probably it's like go f4 and then making the 4 pawns onto the fourth rank, something like that. I always see that. f3 castles, bishop e3, e5, knight ge2, c6, queen d2, knight bd7, rook d1, a6. Oh, okay then. But in the Nergard Simagi 1965 game, it's rook e8, and then the openings book states b3, a6 takes, knight g3, queen e7, bishop e2, knight f8, knight a4, knight e6, and then he castles, and then rook d8, something like that. Right, back to a6, there's d takes e5. But stating in the Reg Fear Mastichadis, it's knight to c1. Openings book states, I think queen e7 is much more recommended, and then bishop e2, knight e8, castles, knight c7, knight b3, rook e8, f4, takes, bishop, knight e6. And then bishop e3, knight c7, bishop g5, f6. Okay, interesting enough. And then after d takes e5, there's knight takes e5. Okay, but at the same time, it was d takes e5 was played in Kogadze Vepkishvili. I don't know how to pronounce that, but yeah. c5 continues as the openings book states. 50% for queen e7, 11% for knight e8. You can go for queen e7, knight e8, or queen a5. I think queen a5 is good and all because of this pawn, no defending, because let's just say like I think he cannot go here because it's gonna take the queen. He cannot go here because the knight is gonna take the rook, and then he can also go b4, but it's also gonna be taken by the queen. So that's like a free piece for white, but at the same for black. But at the same time, after all the hopes may be up, you can go queen here, queen d6 to defend here. But but the problem is the knight e8 threatening the queen. That could be the problem. Knight takes e5, and then b3, b5 takes, queen takes d6, knight f7, and Karpov make things interesting with the mistake of f4. It can be fixed with h4, b4, knight a4, rook takes a4, b takes a4, knight c4, queen f4, bishop e5, queen h6, bishop g7, and the position is an equal position if this would have been the continuation. Or yeah, I think he can go like queen here to, like, if he takes it, gonna like take the queen. f4, and then b4, knight b1, knight g4, bishop d4 takes, and instead of the suggestion of knight takes d4, rook takes a2, bishop e2, knight d f6, the exchange, knight c6, rook takes d1, and probably bishop, but I think that's not recommendable. Let's see if castling is legal. Oh, it's legal. Alright, so yeah, instead of knight takes d4, it was queen takes d4. I think it's a bad idea. And because now, after rook takes a2, Kasparov is now winning with negative 2.87. And h3, c5. But a better one is queen h4. Check. g3, Rook takes e2, king takes e2, losing the castling rights. Queen g3, rook d3, bishop a6, and a pin. H takes g4. I think he's gonna go like bishop, but it's a bad idea to take it for now. I think knight. Add more things here. I can probably say. There. Alright. Back to c5. Karpov mistaken again with queen g1. Going back. What? You can also go with queen d3. That's a good idea. Then knight gf6. Knight e2. Bishop b7. e5. Queen e7. Knight to c4. Knight to d5. h4. f6. And black's position will go down from winning into just a better position. It would have been fine after all. So queen g1 and then knight gf6. Black is winning, and then e5, knight e4. Oh my, look at that. You can also go rook e8. I know when he just like, if he has to move the knight so that he won't lose a knight, but rook e8 could be fine. If he try to take it, let's see. No. I have no clue. Maybe queen takes f6. But it's in the variation stating queen e3, bishop b7, knight c1, rook to b2, bishop c4, bishop takes g2, rook h2, knight e4, and black's position will have a winning position here, and then continuing queen h4. So knight e4 threatening queen h4. Alright. But Kasparov, however, made a mistake again. Made a mistake also with with h4, but queen e3 could have been a 1, and bishop e7, knight to d2, rook takes, knight takes, queen e7, and queen d6, and black's position is better and all. You can just like take it, yeah. It ends with c4, knight c1, c3, knight takes a2, c2, ooh, double attack, and then queen d4, c takes d1 to queen, king takes d1, knight dc5, and then it's over. Karpov resigned because there was like, this pawn is already passed pawn, is gonna take the rook, and if just like, let's just say if he goes here, he's gonna promote to queen, he's gonna take it. That's the problem. And yeah, if the game would have been continued, it could have done with knight takes b4, knight takes h1, knight d2, bishop f5, king c3, knight g3, knight c6, rook takes d2, king takes d2, and yeah, it's a winning here for black. Okay then. Alright, let's conclude this. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe and become a patron member at patreon.com/Paul POW, and yeah, I'll see you tomorrow once again for the countdown of video 100.